Yeah, Brother Jackie.
Oh, man. Hi, everybody. I'm an addict named Chuck. And before we do anything else, I'm going to ask that you pray the way you pray. I'm going to pray the way I pray. Together we're going to invite a very loving and caring God in here, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, once again, I'm an addict named Chuck. It was a great honor when he called me, and it caught me way off guard because this wasn't something that I really expected to do or even had aspirations about, you know. And I'll tell you why. What happened was I got busy in my life, okay? And when I got busy in my life, I stopped going to meetings somewhat. I would maybe go to a meeting once a month. But I learned something that is truly so important right through here. And if you're new, you really need to hear this. You know, you have to invest in Narcotics Anonymous to get anything out of it. Okay? And when you invest in it, like reading the literature, talking about it with somebody, when you really need it, it's going to come back to you. And you're going to remember those basic initial things that you learned when you came in the room, which is very important for when we first come in here. Now, I can give you a story about how I use, but that ain't so important to me right though here, because I got too many people in my fellowship who knew how I use, you know. But what I want you to hear is some things happened, all right, in my life. And the one thing that happened was that I was a member of this organization, and I'm not promoting it, but, you know, I'm a deacon, and I bought in 100%, okay? Almost to the point where they were telling me, oh, man, you don't need to hang out with those people anymore. All right? And so, get this, I went to even make a deeper commitment that I had them take my offering straight out of my paycheck and go there. Until somebody walked up to me and said, I heard what you've been doing. You need to stop right now, and none of the money you gave counts. Now that hurt. I'm going to tell you it hurt, especially because it came from like what we call our spiritual leader. You know, so it worked on me. And I was like, how do I get this out of my head? Because I know what I have to do. See, the one thing I learned in recovery, forgiveness is a big part. And if I can't learn how to forgive you for hurting me, all it's going to do is live in my head. See, we call that obsession. And when obsession sits in, we used to talk about this a whole lot, the fixed idea shows up. And when the fixed idea shows up, it becomes a thought you just can't get rid of. And you try, but it just won't go. It lingers there. It's always there. And that's when compulsion walks in. You know, they're like partners. They hang out together. You know, one gets started, the other finishes the conversation. And I was feeling real bad about this. So I said, I'm going to go to this convention, and I'm going to get with my support crew and sit down with them, and I'm going to let them help me through this. Now get this. If you don't have a higher power, that's your business. I do. Mine loves me, and he has blessed me immensely, more than what I know about at any given time. But get this. I go to the convention, and one of my sponsees walk up to me and says, Chuck, I hear your sponsors use them. And it caught me off guard because it's like, A guy I love a lot. I've been sponsoring him for a while. We got a real intimate relationship. And I know he would never lie to me about anything. He wouldn't. You know, from the things, when you sponsor somebody, you know who will lie and who won't. Okay, I'm going to put it just like that. You know who will tell you the truth and who won't tell you the truth. Okay? Me and him was on that level where he could tell me anything and I could tell him anything. That's the way our relationship is. And he said, Chuck, you know I wouldn't lie to you. I said, I know. But I have to talk to somebody else about this. See, at this moment, I was at the beginning of what I call an event. And the event was I was about to become sponsorless. Okay? And I didn't know. Because it was an uncertainty. And you know, as addicts, we hate uncertainty. You know, we want things to be all in order, sweet and neat. You know, that's the way we like stuff. But when uncertainty hits us, it can really throw us off at any given time. Okay? So right now, I was a little uncertain. But see, as God would have it in my life, when I said that to him, took about 4 or 5 steps and turned the corner, the person that I knew I had to talk to was standing right there. And he seen my eyes and he said, come on, man, let's sit down. And we sat down and him and I discussed it. And then after him and I discussed it, I got some acceptance. Okay? See, what I've learned in recovery is when I get some acceptance with something, regardless of what it is, it can't hurt me as bad as it would if I don't accept it. Because something you don't accept will drag you to hell and back. Okay? But when you accept something, you're falling into the solution and you're starting to get better. You're starting. That's the beginning of the process of healing with anything. You have to accept it first. You know, like when you first said, am I an addict? Maybe I am. But then when you accepted the fact that you was an addict, you said, now maybe I need some help. Okay? And it all falls in that way. Consequently, the guy that I looked in the eye is now my sponsor. Okay? And that's the way it was. But it hurt. And not only did it hurt, but it shook my whole recovery. And it made me look like, Chuck, you got to do what they told you to do in the very beginning. When they said, they said, you got to change. And I said, change what? And they said, everything. Everything had to change. So once again, I had to change everything in my life. Everything. I had to change my work hours so meetings were more susceptible to me. See, I was working the 2 to 10:30 shift. If I didn't feel like getting up and going to a meeting, I didn't. You know, I get off of work. You know, I stay up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and get up and go to work. I also have a mother who has dementia. And I would justify not going to meetings because I had put her in a nursing home and I had to go see her before I went to work. And then go back and see her when I got off of work. And see, I drugged my mother by her hair through my active addiction. All right? I beat the hell out of her with the things I was doing. Okay? And so, when I talk about a 9th step now, it's not one that I have to talk about with her because she ain't going to remember it no way. You know, I sit there and talk with her and she'll ask me the same thing over and over again. And I answer the same thing over and over again. Like every time I would say, Ma, can I get 20? Ma, can I get 20? Ma would give me 20. Okay? Ma called me on the phone. Ma say, can I get a fish sandwich and a Pepsi? Yes, you can. Okay, because I got fish sandwich and Pepsi money now. Okay? You know, she called me on the phone and said, I miss you. Get this. Mother's Day, last Mother's Day. I went, seen her. We had breakfast together. I took her candy. I took her flowers. I got her a couple of cards. We sat there and we talked. And then I went on to church. I get a call about 3 o'clock. She said, I thought you was coming to see me. I said, oh, baby, yeah, I did tell you that, didn't I? And she said, yeah, when you coming? I said, well, I gotta stop at the store, but I'll be right there. And I said, did anybody bring you any flowers? She said, yeah, I got flowers. I don't know who gave them to me. I said, do you have any candy? Yeah, but don't ask me questions. She'll tell me in a minute. Don't be asking me stuff. You know I don't know. And so, that's what I do. But that's what I was doing. And I justified the way I was living, not going to meetings. I even told some of my sponsees that maybe you should consider. One of them told me, no, man, I'll come to your house and do step work. I thank God. I thank God that I invested in some of these guys the way I did, so that when they could see what I couldn't see, they could bring it back to me. See, when you sponsor somebody, it's like putting money in the bank. All right? You pour everything that you can, what they'll take into them. Not all of them is going to take a lot. I'm going to tell you, some sponsees are going to do step work. Some sponsees are going to call you. Some sponsees are just going to be a name only. Okay? You see them in a meeting. Yeah, how you doing? I'm okay. I believe you. And leave it at that, And believe me, I'll leave it at that. Because my concentration is on the ones who want this. See, you heard many times that we said before that a whole lot of people need it. Only a few people really want this. My partner, Bo Ellis, God bless him, he said the basic text is over 1 million sold, less than 100 read. And I always wondered why he would say something like that. But then as time went on, I realized that everybody will get one. Not everybody's going to read one. Not everybody is going to buy into this program. So get this, I had to change my whole life. The first thing I changed was my hours to work. Okay? I went from the 2 to 10:30 shift to the 6 in the morning to the 2:30 in the afternoon shift. All right? I get up at 4 o'clock every day to go to work. And when I get up at 4 o'clock, I read something. I wake up and it's quiet in my house, and I can sit there and I can read something that's going to help me in my spirit grow. I sent out an email to some friends of mine and I pray. Because what I found out was I wasn't praying the way I used to pray when I first came into fellowship. See, we talk about complacency becoming the enemy of a person with time. And complacency was becoming my best friend. It was so easy to lay there. It was so easy to watch The Walking Dead on TV, all the reruns. It was so easy to sit there and do nothing. But now I have to do something. One of my blessings, get this, I go to work. And every time I go to work, I walk in the parking lot. And I get up close to the building and I look up the hill. And I thank God. Because where I work at, up the hill, is the old VA hospital. Okay? And see, a little better than 25 years ago, better than 25 years ago, I was in a locked ward up at that VA hospital. And it wasn't my first one. Okay? Today, I work a locked unit in a hospital. Because I'm a nurse. By God's grace. Not I did. Okay? Because if you look at my track record on how I became a nurse, I ain't going to say I was smoking crack every day. Because I didn't have crack money every day. Yeah, I wasn't that kind of addict. I didn't have money like that. I smoked crack when I could. I was like a welfare crack addict. Okay? It's like what you can talk somebody out of, what you beg your mother, and that's what I did. Okay? And when I come to graduation time, I had a 76.5 grade point average. And by God's grace, they gave me 0.5 so I could graduate. Now get this. As a nurse. Recently, they made me the employee of the month and let me park my car up in front. When I go to work, a cat will look at me and he'll say, Charles, every time I see you come in that door, I feel much better. You see, when we really get into our literature and get an understanding of what our literature, especially our medallion, okay? Our medallion talks about service. It talks about society, okay? And it talks about the example we are to the world around us. How do I present myself to the world around me? Okay? Now these people see me. Now I'm a jokester at work. Look, I work with a whole bunch of women. Okay? And I broke them all down to sisters. Okay? Granddaughters. Daughters. Okay? And what one said to me recently, she said, you always talk about your wife. You better know it. Okay? Because by me always talking about my wife, they know where my focus is. You know? And they see me call my wife on the phone, and get this. This is one major blessing for me. My mother can call my job, and one of them will answer the phone and talk to her. Recently, I heard one of them talking. She said, yeah, well, my son did stuff like that too. And I'm listening to her. I said, who are you talking to? And she said, your mother. And I heard my mother say, tell him to mind his own business. Okay? Now see, my mother has dementia. But she knows my phone number, and she knows my job phone number. And my job knows, they got a policy that says very simply, no personal calls. I told them I can't work for you no more. And they was like, what are you talking about? I said, listen, my mother has to be able to call me, because if she has an anxiety attack, forgets where she is, forgets what's going on around her, I am her lifeline. See, I don't know about you when you was using, but she was my lifeline. See, I don't know if you ever had those experiences that you bank your mother out of her last money, and she says, all I need is $4 to buy my heart medicine. Do you think I really bought that $4 back? I couldn't bring that money back. But God is so good, especially in my life. This is what happened. She's sitting in a hospital, and she calls me, and she said, see, I'm clean now. And she said, they won't pay for my medicine. I said, how much is it? She said, it's $150. I said, I'll be right there. I was collecting those gold coins. I was acting like I was Scrooge. I wanted to get a $500 worth of gold coin. I even had a little treasure chest that I had them in. Okay? And I counted out $150 in gold coins, and I took it to the hospital, and I put it in a plastic bag like I was a pirate, and threw it on the counter. I said, here it go. You know? See, I couldn't have done that had I not stayed here. I couldn't be the son that I am today had I not stayed here. Now get this. Thank you, brother. That's Chuck. That's my man, Chuck. You know, when I said I had to change everything, and I got a new sponsor, and I started to step work all over again, when I did the first step this time, I read something that got me. The first question that hits me in the flat book is, what does the disease of addiction mean to you? As many times as I've done a first step out of the flat book with one of the guys I sponsor, I forgot about that question. And anything that you forget about in recovery is subject to sneak back up on you. See, when I was going through that stuff, and that was what we call emotional pain. When my sponsor used that hurt, that really hurt me. I've been hanging with this guy for 25 years. Okay? He poured so much stuff into me. It was just crazy. And when I went through that thing at the other place, it hurt me. But see, when I hurt, I got to know where to go for the solution. And I found out NA by itself is enough. I have a relationship with my God, but the relationship that I needed is with you. See, I went to a convention, and the one thing that I hadn't been doing was fellowshipping. I went to a convention, that guy right over there sitting up against the wall. We played cards half the night, and I had a ball. And they know and people was walking in the room saying, Chuck playing cards? Because I didn't do that. I didn't do that. You know, I didn't socialize with the fellowship like that. I didn't go to picnics. I wouldn't go. I would always have an excuse as why I don't have to go. Listen to this. When they said change everything, I started going to picnics. I started playing cards. I found out that there's still liars in the room of Narcotics Anonymous, and you can find them all at the whist table. Or playing dominoes, whatever your preference is. Okay? And I started maturing in a spiritual manner with the fellowship. I started feeling the heartbeat of the fellowship like I hadn't felt it in a long time. And I started saying to my wife, when there's something going on, we're going. If we don't do nothing but sit at the table and say hi, we're going. Because I realized something, that for me to go on in my recovery, I need you more than you need me. And that's the real deal of this whole thing. It's the atmosphere that you create for me, regardless of how much clean time I got, for me to be comfortable with who I am. And you do that for me. And I started going to conventions like I had never been. You know, I would go and do the same thing my friend back there is doing. I'd be recording stuff. Man, I recorded the first one. In fact, I made that symbol right there. Them two men holding that thing up, I made that symbol right there for this thing here. I used to love doing that. But get this. I substituted that for spiritual growth in the fellowship. See, I was a hustler when I was a kid. I started out like many of you, cutting grass and shoveling snow. And somebody would hand me some money, and I'd be happy. Get this. For those from Pittsburgh, they knew the stores. We had stores like Kay's and Stylebrook. See, I didn't come with a family that had a lot of money. And I'm going to tell you that straight up from the door. So if I wanted new clothes, I better get out there and do something to get some clothes. That's what I had to do. Okay? And that's just the way it was, and I'm proud of it. All right? I'm glad that I got such a work ethic about myself that makes me feel, just get a job, Chuck. It'll work out. Narcotics Anonymous tells me, hang in there, get a job, Chuck. It'll work out. Get this. I love handling money. I didn't care how much I made. Just let me handle it. That's all I wanted to do. Okay? So I would handle money, shoveling snow. Then I joined a football team. That's what corrupted me. Got on this football team, and they said, here, this is a booster card. I want you to go to door and ask people for money for the football team. They should have never did that with me. They couldn't see the addict coming. I couldn't see the addict coming. Man, I collected so much money and gave it to these people. Here. And found out they spent it. Yeah. Guess what? Football, baseball, hockey, wrestling. I was door to door collecting money and spending it. And I liked collecting money. Okay? See, when I started doing the taping stuff, I needed something to do in Narcotics Anonymous. Something that I can concentrate on more so than my recovery. Okay? And that's just what I did. I've been around the world, recording stuff all over the country, hearing people share some fantastic messages. Man, I got like almost 25 years worth of recordings. Okay? And I give it to people, and somebody will say, hey man, I'm going through this here. Listen to this. Listen to this. Look, I like doing that. And I still like doing that. But what I didn't notice, because I wasn't paying attention to my own recovery, was this was substituting for me going to meetings, for me getting what's being shared with me. And I was missing something. Now, I had a good sponsor that I spent time with. I had sponsee brothers that I spent time with. but I wasn't getting fully what the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous was offering me. The Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous offers us a home like we ain't never had before. A home where I can call somebody and say, hey man, I'm doing this. And they'll laugh at you and say, yeah, I did that too. Because they can identify. What I've learned here, that no matter what I share up here, somebody in this room has done it to the same degree or another. There's nothing unique about none of us. And we want to keep our secrets, but I tell people that I sponsor that when you want to keep a secret, you're protecting something that's going to hurt you. The potential to hurt you real bad because you want to keep it and you don't want nobody to know about it. And I'm learning this stuff as time goes on. And in the last 4 months, my recovery has grown more than it has, than I could say. Okay? Because of the way I've been sharing with people, the way I've been asking God. And see, when I was so committed to the other place, somebody here would say, hey man, can you come and share? And I said, oh no, I can't. I got business over here. And I was telling Narcotics Anonymous no. And that's just what I was doing. And then when all this stuff happened, I got down on my knees and I prayed. And I said, God, from now on, I'm going to let your will be done in my life. You know, like we say in the third step, take my will in my life. Guide me in my recovery. Show me how you want me to live. And I add that part. Show me how you want me to live. And I said, when somebody asks me to come and share, I'm going. Man, it seemed like as soon as I said that, I got phone calls. People start calling me. Man, can you come here? Look. I love this program with a passion. But I had to let this program become more precious to me than my clean date, actually. Okay? And I'm saying it like that because I wouldn't have a clean date if it wasn't for this program. Okay? My clean date is October 9th, 1993. Next week, I'm going to celebrate 25 years. Now get this. I would never been able to do that had I not stayed here. Had I not done what he does. Had I not let people know me, whether they was giving me and I was receiving or not. Because I wasn't receiving the way I could have received. And I'm so thankful for God that he let me learn and see what I see, because all he did was enhance a message for me to tell a newcomer. Service is the most beautiful thing that I can do. Serving this fellowship is the most beautiful thing I can do. But I can't forget that I'm the key part of that service that I'm doing. Okay? I can do some horrible service, some self-centered service, some egotistical service, or I can do some humble service. Some service that really does what it's supposed to do in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous tells us that when we step in the room, we should be grateful to give it away. But I got to learn how to give it away. If I don't know how to give it away, I'm going to give you anything. Okay? I'll give you. Man, look. I told you I love the money. I love the hustle. When I was young, I started hustling. I didn't stop until I started smoking crack. I don't know what happens there. You know, one minute you're a fantastic hustler. You're making all kind of loot. You know what I mean? Your pocket's always bulging. The girls are walking. You hit that crack and everything goes. Everything goes. Man, money goes. Car goes. Looks go. You know, you can't even get it up no more after time. You know what I mean? It's just like everything goes, you know? But then when you come in here, he restores us. That's why we get to get as old as we get, some of us. You know what I mean? And we look as good as we do. Because we have a message that we have to carry together. We do that. All right? And the way we do that is we sit, we get to know each other, we play cards and lie. You know, you got to lie a little bit every now and then, you know what I mean? And you fellowship, and you learn how to have a good time without the use of drugs. And where I'm at today, it's like I feel so good about who I am and the way I'm living. I feel so good about that. I feel so good that I can look myself in the mirror and be okay with who I see. You know? I don't know if you ever did any things like I did. I remember one time I'd hit that crack. And, you know, I used to run from myself. you know, and I ran into the bathroom and locked the door, and I looked in the mirror, and I wanted to, I said, oh, it smells on my breath, and I reached in the medicine cabinet, grabbed somebody's toothbrush, I don't know who it was, start brushing my teeth, and I said, this tastes funny, and I look at it, I'm brushing my teeth with Preparation H. Now, I don't know if y'all ever did that, okay? But in that crack delusion, you would do almost anything. Because it makes you delusional. All right? And I'm going to tell you something. Another thing that really got me. I'm going to nursing school. I see a guy, as a student, I see a guy sitting in the bed acting like he's driving a car. And you hear him talking, and he's saying, oh, man, if I can only stop driving. I'm so tired, but I can't. Now, he can't walk. He can't do nothing. And what happened was he took something, and he had an overdose, and it took his brain away. I don't know about what your recovery's like, but at this point in my recovery, 7 of my sponsees have OD'd and died. Okay? See, we get this. One had a stroke and couldn't talk, but he could still cough. See, this disease is so insidious. It's so sneaky. And I turned around and I looked, and it was slow, you know what he say, slow walking right up on me. And it was getting right there. And it was getting ready to reach out and touch when God said, we got to put an end to this. And I really believe it was God's intervention to put an end to the way that I was living and told me I had to start a whole new way of life. A new way of life. A life in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. A life of sponsoring people, doing step work with people, visiting with people, listening to people, and letting newcomers hear what I have to say. I had one of my sponsees, I was at a meeting, and it came to me, and I said, oh, I'll pass. My sponsee looked at me, he said, man, listen to this. When you and I are in a meeting together, I do not expect you to pass. I expect you to share on the topic, because I may need to hear something. Ain't nobody ever told me that, all right? And when he said that, it made so much sense to me that I should always, whenever given the opportunity, share my experience, my strength, and my hope. See, my blessing is I'm able to create an atmosphere around me that other people can recover one day at a time. See, there's a part in the basic text, I don't know if I can get it up or not, but it talks about my relative importance to family and friends. How important am I to my family? It's in the first step. And it talks about how important am I to my family and friends. And then when I flip it, how important are they? Are they important enough for me to keep living this way so that if they need me, I'm here for them? See, I've had people who come in the rooms and said, Chuck, you're here? I said, where else am I going to be? Okay? And then we sit down and we talk. And then they stay here too. See, it's real nice when somebody new comes in the room and you knew them. And you knew them from yesterday. And they come in the room today. And you give them what you got. And you show them the way around. And you let them be comfortable. You know, it's so nice when we can do something like that for somebody else. It's so nice that I can simply say, I can sit next to you in a meeting. Man, I go to some meetings, and a young lady just came up and sat next to me and started crying. I'm like, okay. And then afterwards, after the meeting, I put my arm around her, hugged her, and she said, thank you. I just wanted to sit next to you. See, sometimes people just want to sit next to us. They see us in these rooms. They hear us share. Okay? They know we're sharing, well, most of us, honestly. Okay? And we share from our spirit because we say what comes from our spirit touches the spirit. And that's what happens with us. And people can feel when we're really genuine. Especially if I ain't trying to chase you around. I don't want your draws. I don't want that. I got a wife at home. Look, an experience. Get this. I'm jitneying. I don't know if Buffalo, I don't know if you know what a jitney driver is, but it's an illegal cab driver. I'm jitneying, and I done hit a hard lick. Got a stack. I like money. I told you I like money. Why you think me and Nate hung out so long? But I like money. And so I did these things just to have some money. It could be all ones. Just gotta let me feel the lump. Okay? But this girl jumps in my car. I drive up. She jumps. I don't even think the door opened. She jumped in the car. And I said, I was feeling frisky. This was before marriage. Okay? And I asked her, I said, well, what you up to? In the dialogue. But the funny thing about addicts, when we get our first cars and stuff, we seem to all have this bad habit of putting all these NA slogans on the dash. So she gets in the car, and she sees all the NA slogans, and she said, and my other slogans, and she said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "No, I'm in recovery." She says, "My brother's in recovery." Now listen, my disease said, don't ask her who her brother is. You don't need to know. That little voice that lives in me, that keeps me out of trouble a whole lot of times, that thing we call a conscience, that I think it's a God-inspired conscience, said, ask her who her brother is. And I said, reluctantly, well, who's your brother? And she said his name. And I said, he's my cousin. I didn't know that she was my cousin. I'm getting ready to trick with my cousin and they don't even know it. So what does God have me do? Sit there for the next half hour telling her about recovery and why she shouldn't be out there on the street. See, my partner, I have friends of mine that told me God dope fiend a bunch of dope fiends. Okay? And he got us doing things that we never expected ourselves to be doing. But we're doing it on a daily basis. Okay? We're being an example. I really believe that we're God's love letter to a world gone crazy. Okay? Because they see the things that we do. They know that they say, like they used to say about me, he ain't really clean, he's just faking it. My family would say to me, oh, I heard you was using it. I would say, did I have a good time? Because I surely don't remember. Okay? I used to walk through my old neighborhood with my basic text in my hand. I remember one time I was walking and I was coming through the neighborhood and this young kid, man, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? And one of the others yelled across the street, man, leave Chuck alone. He got 90 days clean. I didn't know they were watching. They were watching to see what I was going to do. I didn't know later on they would walk up to me and say, could you help my dad? Could you help my mother? Would you just talk to them? I didn't know this would happen. But see, this is the way God plans our lives out. That uncertain part. That part that many times that we're so afraid of that I don't want to know about, but here it comes and I got to deal with it. I love that line in the basic text where it talks about our reaction to drugs is what makes us an addict, not how much we use. The guys that I sponsor, I tell them very simply, our reaction to life shows our character, not what happens. See, if I got a first step in my life and I understand what this first step is saying to me, I can see very simply that anything can happen in my life. Anything can happen in my life, okay? And if I sit back, give myself a moment, I can get through it. Because I don't have to react to things the way I used to. I don't know if you was like me, 0 to 60 seconds. I got guns and everything else. Now, I like to just think about it for a second. I like to consider it, and it's so nice to be able to consider somebody else's feelings. My wife get mad at me, and I say, okay. And she said, did you hear what I said? And I said, yeah, okay. And then she said, is that all you're going to say? I said, yeah, okay. And then she, da-da-da-da-da, yeah, okay. See, before I used to play spiritual poker with my wife. She say something, I say something, I see you, I raise you. I don't have to do that anymore. I can let her be angry at me for something that I did, because I probably did it. Okay? I can get real honest. I probably did something wrong. Okay? I even do that at work, and they get amazed. Man, look, I made a mistake at work. Guy said, Charles, it looks like you made a mistake. I said, let me look. He said, yeah, I made a mistake. Sorry about that. What you want to do? He looked at me. He said, wait a minute. What did you just say? And somebody else was looking, and she said, wait a minute, you're admitting that you made a mistake? Yeah, I made a mistake. You know, I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. Now let's get to the solution. And you find out in this world, a lot of people are not solution-oriented. A lot of people like to live in the problem. You know, because they can deal with the problem better than they can deal with a solution. And that's what I have to see in my life today. That's why I love this program as much as I do. That's why every morning when I go to work, I look up and I praise God and I thank Him for giving me the job that I got. Okay? That's why at night when I get off of work, I'll go to a meeting, I'll take a nap. Go take a nap. Don't be tired. Take a nap. All right? Get up and go to a meeting. I was telling people, I said, you will see me now more than you have ever seen me before. And people were saying, yeah, Chuck, we're seeing you a lot now. Yeah, because I'm coming in, I'm getting me a chair, and I'm getting a cup of coffee, and I'm going to a meeting. Because I know this is what saved my life. This is what gave me the job that I got. This is what created this character that I'm creating. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of the perks, I'm a nurse. I do long-term care. When I get a person, they're not going home. Okay? I told this story. I'm going to tell you this story I told. I'm sitting there because I got people who say stuff at work, and I tell them stories all the time. Because they always tell me what they can't do, and I tell them what they can do. I told them a story about this cat named John. I got it from my brother Tree. God bless him. You know, he's my predecessors who passed away. But Tree told this story about John. And he said he met this guy named John. John asked him to sponsor him. And he said, John, well, you got to go to the meeting. He said, John said, I know. And he says, John, you got to read the basic text. John said, I know. And he said, and John, you got to call me. I know. Tree didn't see him for a couple of weeks. He seen him walking down the street. He says, hey, man, where you been? He said, you know, a funny thing. Tree said, I know. Because we know. Now get this. This old cat was sitting off to the side listening to me. We go into the dining room to have lunch. He says to me, so whatever happened to John? Did you see him again? And you know how you get stuff in the corner of your eye? You know your ear swells up because you done heard something that you didn't expect to hear. And I said, what you know about John? And he said, I've known quite a few Johns. I said, I looked at him, I said, and I used his terminology. I said, how long have you been sober? He said, 38 years. So him and I started a dialogue. So now whenever I get an extra 5-10 minutes that I ain't doing something, I go say hi to him. And I see how he's doing. And he said something to me that blew me away. Get this, in the midst of me making this change in my life, in the midst of my sponsor using, he said to me, listen, man, I know I ain't never leaving here alive. But I still have no reason to drink. And I was like, whoa. And then a day later I said, why did you say that to me? He said, I know that when I do say something to somebody, it may not hit them right then and there, but when it does hit them, it may save their life, and the life that I save may be yours. And I was sitting there saying, he said that to me. He was telling me that this is what I need to do, that I need to continue, not just talk recovery, but live recovery. I need to study my literature, not just read my literature. I need to discuss these things like my importance to family, society, to my sponsees, to the fellowship, to my home group, okay? And see how important they are to me. And I have to accept this as a fact. This is a fact of the matter. This is the way I learned that I have to live my life if I want to live my life. If I want to live my life. And see, what it say? The fruit of a labor of love. Man, I was on a cruise and I had a ball. Never been on a boat. Had a ball. I walked underwater. I walked on the bottom, put one of them helmets on, and walked on the bottom of the ocean. I ain't never thought I would do anything like that. I got in helicopters and flew in them. I didn't think I was going to do that. I had my wife scared to death. Get this. Got the submarine, went underwater in the submarine. You know, it took her 20 minutes to get in, but that's not here or there, you know, because she got in and she couldn't wait. And you know, one of my favorite things is to make my wife smile. I love making her smile. And I do some of the craziest stuff just to make her smile. Because one time we were sitting in a restaurant and I was saying some old off-the-wall stupid stuff, and she looked at the waitress and she said, "Don't pay him no attention. He makes his stuff up as he goes along." Now this is my wife talking about me, and I'm looking at her. I said, "Where you get that at?" Looking at you. But that's me and her. And see, what I'm seeing now is our golden years are upon us. See, my wife was married to an alcoholic for 20-something odd years. Okay? And then she met me. And my wife was the perfect example of an enabler. But when she met me, she didn't know that I had been looking for a woman like her, a woman who could hang in there with a damn fool. Okay? Because I knew when I married her, I was crazy as hell. But over the years, she has mellowed me out. Because this woman has a faith like nobody I've ever seen before. Okay? And she makes me feel so good being married to her. And I found out, and I heard Dot Talley say this. Dot Talley said very simply, it's nice to find somebody that you can be happy with. Find somebody you can be happy with. I was looking at Frank, and I was thinking about Frank, and I can't even tell you how many years ago when I recorded Frank and his wife at a Valentine's speaker jam. And I still got the tape. And Frank said he does too. But see, that's the life that we can have here. You know, it's a beautiful life when you allow it to happen to you. But you got to let it happen, man. You know what I mean? You're not going to get it through osmosis. You're not going to get it just by coming to a meeting and sitting in a chair and leaving. You're not going to get it like that. You'll only get it by getting involved. And you have to get involved in your own recovery. I love to tell the new guys, man, the only person that can stop you is you. Can't nobody else get in your way. And you don't have to let nobody get in your way if you don't want to. You know? So look, I don't know how much more time that I got. Huh? 5 minutes? Oh, okay. Phil gave me the 5. He didn't give me the. I gave me the 5-minute warning. Phil will give me the 5-minute warning. You know. But I'm gonna tell you, my journey in recovery in the beginning was beautiful. And then the mid times, you know, but now it has been revived, and it's so much better than what it was before. I enjoy seeing you smile. I enjoy sitting next to you. I enjoy eating with you. I just enjoy you now. Okay? You become the jewel in my life that I can hold off and tell the world about. Okay? And it's just that simple. I want to be part of you. I do. I want to be in your life. I want to be a friend. I'm going to come and visit. Man, I was telling everybody. I used to tell everybody about Recovery in the Woods. I used to, man. You know, and my greatest honor, the greatest gift was the year they let me record Recovery in the Woods. I think it was 2005, somewhere around in there. But I stood in this one main room they got. You got to go. If you ain't never been to the woods, you got to go. It's beautiful up there. But get this. They got this one main room where you stand in this room and you look out the back windows and you can see the sunset into Lake Erie. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely, man. And you know, I'm going to tell you something. You owe it to yourself. Look at all the money you gave that other cat. He had a ball with your money. I didn't know he had a ball with mine. Okay, so I know he had a good time with yours. Okay? You spend your money on you. You invest in your life, your good times, your well-being. Okay? And I promise you, you're going to enjoy yourself without a doubt. There's nothing else like it. Listen. Whenever someone suffering comes to me and asks, what is this program? How do we stay free? I tell them our program is much more than words. We carry a message that is seen and heard. Our message is hope, and it comes from a we. with spiritual guidance that we can stay free. That an addict, any addict, can stop using together and stop using. I done messed the words up, but that's okay. But it boils down to this: stopping the spread of addiction one day at a time. And together we do this. We do this God's way, and together we do this, and we're doing it today. Man, listen, I want to thank y'all for listening to me. I pray